Welcome to Armchair Expert. I am Emmy-nominated Monica Padman. I'm joined by...
Emmy-nominated soon, Dax Shepard.
No. I didn't even apply.
Yeah, you will be.
Listen to me. You listen up. My dad is here today. And I don't want people to...
From the dead?
Well, that's right. I don't want people to think he has risen from the dead.
Okay.
He didn't ascend.
Oh.
Favorite TV dad of all time, Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah.
I've never felt in real life like I had a twin separated by 25 years like I have felt with Craig T. From the second I met him, I'm like, I think we're the same person traveling in two different times.
Oh my God, just like my grandpa and the new dog.
And the dog that you notice. Yes. Monica's discovered a branch of reincarnation that is new and exciting and will be incorporated into our cult papers.
Yeah.
Explain what happened, Monica.
Oh, well, Kristen brought a new dog to the house, a new foster.
One-eyed dog.
One-eyed dog named Taffy. Very sweet, very cute dog.
Deaf, blind.
Yeah, lots of ailments. But this dog really likes to hang out by my feet.
Sure.
And I will be honest, after a few minutes, I was ready for that to be done.
Sure.
But then I just stopped and I looked at her face.
Into her eye.
Into her eye.
Deep into her eye.
And I thought, are you my grandpa?
You really had that thought, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a real thought I had. Like some of my grandpa's essence ended up in Taffy, and he's still alive.
That's why it's a whole new version of reincarnation.
Thing. Yeah, it's a new thing.
I call her Tiffany, Typical, or Trisket.
Right.
The sky's the limit. You can call her anything you want because she is deaf as fuck. And she cannot hear a thing she can't see. She bumps into walls, doors, feet. And yet she seems joyful and happy.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about Trisket. We're here to talk about my dad, not the one that rose from the dead, Craig T. Nelson, my father on Parenthood. You may have come to know him in Poltergeist. He was Coach. What a career. The Incredibles. My girls love him now. He's Mr. Incredible. What could be cooler? I love this man so much. We kissed on the lips when we saw each other. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
I had forgotten. I put it away. I put that away.
To think about when you were sad one day?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, guys. Now, Minneapolis sold out. That thing sold out. It's no longer on the
market.
On the market. But there are some seats left for Cleveland, for Detroit, and for Chicago. So please go to our website, follow the link if you want to come party with us in June. We'd love to see you. Without further ado, my alive father.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Dad, we were just discussing that. You're just vaguely aware of podcasts, right?
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
Right. You've never listened to one, have you? There's a lot you'd like.
So they're like free-form radio.
Yeah. Ours, you know, it's long form, so you can...
You don't have to, don't feel nervous.
Monica, how exciting is it? Monica's a huge Parenthood fan.
Huge.
Isn't it so sweet that he's just like he is?
Yeah, I love it. It's the best.
I was a little different.
Oh, yeah, sure. You dressed differently and you golfed less.
Yeah, right.
You didn't have a race
I
career.
had more fun.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but you came to work one day and you go, "Oh, I saw this movie, Hit and Run. Oh, Dax, what a great movie." Remember you came home and you were raving about it.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, many times.
I loved it.
And then I said to you, "Well, do you remember, Dad, I offered you the role of my dad in it." And you said, "You did?"
Did you really?
Yes, 100%. And you were like, which I totally understood. You're like, I'm going to be in Hawaii. It's our break. I'm going to be with the family. I'm not going to be around. I was like, no problem. And then we had to go get Beau Bridges. Lovely man. Glad I met him. But certainly I wrote that role for you, Craig T. Nelson, my paternoster, my hero.
And Tom Arnold.
He was spectacular, right?
So good.
Yeah.
So funny. Got me. That movie was good. Kristen was great.
Yeah.
You guys, I told you, I says, when you get her cracking up, it's just, to me, it's just special. It's so fun.
Now that we have these two kids, I'm really happy that there's a little time capsule of us when we were like 5 years into dating.
And she doesn't laugh that much anymore.
No. Oh my God, no. She hasn't laughed since 2016, for me at least. Other people still have her number.
Has she grown taller?
She has. She's 5'11" now. And she's losing quite a few roles. But you have one of the more bizarre stories, and it slowly got revealed to me over the course of 6 years on Parenthood.
Right.
First and foremost,
Well, the first time I met you, I just loved you.
I was just about to say the same thing.
I didn't know who you were at all.
Sure.
I didn't know anybody. What show were we doing?
Yeah.
But when I met you, I loved you right away. And, when we read the script, we had that cast reading. I got to tell you, just as a side note, I had this trainer over at the house Saturday,
Okay.
and we were working on glutes,
Of course, yeah.
and I really did something wrong. I've got something that goes up into my sphincter.
Okay.
That it hurts so bad. And when I try to cross my legs like I know what I'm doing, it hurts and there's a pain. And I didn't cry out just now. But inside, I think I'm bleeding.
Now, are you looking for that pop? Like sometimes when my low back and buttocks is real tight and I cross those legs, I'm kind of waiting for a pop and then some relief.
Oh, it would be so nice.
What were you doing? Squat, lunges?
Oh, my trainer, Adam, he's such a good kid and he thinks I can do things.
Right.
And he gives me things to do. And of course, I'm not going to say no.
Right.
Because I want to prove that I'm okay. And then he's got these things we do. I don't even know what they're called. They're just so fucking excuse me.
No, you're allowed to say
They
fuck all you
just
want.
hurt. And I came away from there and I knew I'd done something. Because I just didn't feel right when I was going to the bathroom and I thought, how could it be going up into my sphincter?
Right. That's a deep workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can I just ask really quick so I have a visual? What is your gear when you work out? Do you have do you have special outfit you put on or just stay in blue jeans?
it depends on how I'm feeling and how cold it is. Because, you got to dress up when you get older.
Yeah.
And if I want to look thinner, I have a thinner outfit. If I don't really care, because the dog comes in with me and he looks at me when I'm training, and he kind of gives me the heads up, or the dog does, the heads up, go ahead, keep going, or I think your heart rate's reached
Terminal velocity.
So no, I don't have a really, Lululemon.
Okay. That was a long walk to find out it was Lululemon. Oh, that really helps me with my visual. And does Dory come out and just pop her head in? And when she does, do you get a little insecure or do you feel macho?
No, she's the one that pressures me to do it because I'm a slacker. And I figure I've worked out if I've walked from my chair to the kitchen, and that's a good workout there. And I never used to feel that way because when we were racing, I trained all the time.
Right.
It's harder now to get into that rhythm of doing it. It's just, why? And I know I need to do it because I got a lot of things I'm sure going on that I don't know about. And I don't want to get tested for them. I don't want to have to go. Because what happens is you get older, all you're doing is driving to see doctors. That's what happens. And for tests.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they tell you stuff, and it's like, okay, listen, I'm 75. Do I care?
Right.
And then it's like quality of life. Okay, well, what quality of life can I have with this or that or this or that? And then you see stuff on Netflix like Root Cause. And you realize, in my experience, because I did so many bad things when I was a child that
Which we're going to talk about
can't wait.
extensively.
last week that destroyed my calcium in my teeth.
Oh.
And I had a lot of root canals. And they're saying in this documentary, Root Cause, that root canals are basically dead tissue that you're carrying around that carry bacteria, and it can cause
Alzheimer's, I've heard, right?
Alzheimer's. I'm telling you, Dax, it's like the stuff that they're onto.
Yeah, it breaks the blood-brain barrier and can basically infect your brain with.
And you've got bacteria in your system that's alive and well. Well, I must have 8 or 9. Root canal.
And
anyway,
how many pills are you taking in the morning?
I only take supplements.
Oh, no, you're not on a statin or anything for cholesterol?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
But I
vitamin?
don't take them.
Oh, you don't take them? Okay.
I have 2.
Okay.
I have one for cholesterol and then one for blockage.
Okay.
And I don't like it because I've been reading about that too. Anything like that in my system, I want to be able to monitor my heart attack on my own.
Okay. Sure.
I don't need any kind of additional information going on.
Extraneous variables.
And I'm not sure about statins. When I'm reading about them and the cause and effect hasn't really gone, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
It isn't proven. So,
should I stop taking mine?
You're not taking any.
Yeah, I take a statin. I have.
You do?
Yeah, even when
You might want to look it up because there's a guy that's saying, and he's all about inflammation
right.
in the body, and that inflammation is a major cause for illness
Yeah.
anywhere in the body. He is saying statins are inflammatory.
You know what's so crazy to hear that is the tipping point for me, I had been prescribed it because I just genetically have high cholesterol. Even when I've been vegan, I have high cholesterol. And what I heard a doctor say was that it has an overall anti-inflammatory quality and that everyone could benefit from being on it because it reduces inflammation. And now this turkey's saying the opposite.
Yeah,
So who are we to believe?
That's the problem.
I know.
Really, if you're a very physical person like I was, it seems ridiculous that all of a sudden you're susceptible to stuff.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, too, sometimes you just got to ask yourself, now they can just find everything, which isn't necessarily good. Surely, 40 years ago, you just never found that stuff. Maybe it was slow moving. Maybe it was fast moving. Maybe discovering it just makes you worry about it, which isn't helpful. It's hard to know, really, right? What you want to know you have and what you'd rather just not know about.
Yeah, I'm pretty anti-doctor, have been. But
yeah, that's why women save us, right? Because your wife makes you go.
Absolutely. The thing that is, for me, alarming in a way is that it's gone by so damn, and everybody says this, it just went by. It's just
I remember very early into Parenthood, you told Peter Krause, and he repeats this to me all the time. You said, buddy boy, this is when it just takes off like a rocket. From your current age right now to my age is just a freight train. It's just flying down the tracks. And he took that to heart, and he's brought it up to me several times. It blows my mind I'm now Peter's age when he was my older brother on Parenthood, and I remember thinking he was well into his life when we met.
Right.
And then I always think about what you said.
Right.
Yeah. But then I think, maybe it's better to never even think about it.
But you have your girls right now to measure that by, and you can take that quality time and blah, blah, blah. And it's funny because you'll look at that, and I did and do, and think, now it's grandkids and great-grandkids for me.
Right.
And it's, what happened?
Yeah.
When did it get out of control?
When did you lose your grip on this thing?
Of course.
Yeah.
Right? And then everybody else that's, around my age is going, where is it going? What's happening?
Well, my theory on it is when you're 2 years old, the year between 1 and 2 years old amounts for half of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that year is very significant because it's half of your entire life. And then when you're 10, a year goes by, and it's 1/10 of your whole life. That's a significant percentage. But when you're 75, a year is 1/75 of your life. So it just feels fractionally way smaller.
Totally.
I feel like it's kind of what makes it feel fast is that it's in relation
to your age.
Yeah.
Well, waiting for Christmas when you're a kid is like forever. That's 15 years you're waiting.
Or summer. Summer was like
Summer
2
school.
years long.
Oh, my God.
For me, currently, at this pace of years going.
It's fascinating for me because at 75, you start reading the obituaries more. And you're seeing all these actors and the people that I identified with as icons that are passing. And you go, well, let's see, that guy was 84. I give him 75. If I take care of us.
Yeah.
Now, what am I at? Blah, blah, blah. And then it's like the mortality issues come in, and it's very incredibly fascinating.
But don't you and I know from our secret society that the real issue is just thinking about ourselves, Thinking about our mortality, thinking about how much time is left, thinking about blah, blah, blah. Craig needs this. Craig wants more years. The thing that's helping me currently is that I'm so focused on the little girls that I'm not hyper aware of how much time's blowing by for me. I'm kind of like focused on them, which is a big relief. But when they leave the house, I'll be stuck with myself and concentrating once again on my own voyage.
Yeah, and lonely. Probably.
Yeah.
But no one can fill that void except, spiritually, I think.
Yeah.
A play can't. Maybe at times music.
Yeah, for temporary, right, periods, it can distract you enough. But being of service to people is the great distractor that helps me feel good in general.
There's got some guys I sponsor that are just incredibly diverse and funny.
And isn't it a nice vacation from your mind when you're helping those guys?
Yeah, because it means that I have to put into practice what I'm telling them to do.
Right, yeah.
How to get through it.
Oh, I've had many moments where I was like advising some newly sober dude, and I'm like, you're such a fucking hypocrite. You're not doing half of the things you're telling him to do.
That's who we are.
We
are such hypocrites.
Yeah.
And it isn't motive anyway, it's action. So
Right? Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of it. I really don't feel like doing it, but I'll do it anyway because I know I have to.
Yes.
And I don't have to feel bad about not wanting to do it.
Right. So we're going to walk through your life, which is a really fun and exciting voyage. You were born in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah.
Mom was a dancer, and Dad was a businessman of some variety.
Well, he did a lot of things. He was too young for the First World War and too old for the Second. And so he worked in the Roosevelt administration and the CCA and Civilian Conservation Corps also. And he did a lot of stuff that I really don't know about. I wish I had had the time to sit down with him and talk, because now it would have been great.
Yeah. Did he die young?
Yeah, he was 65 and he had emphysema. I think he was a great guy. I didn't know him that well.
Because of you or because of him or both?
Well, he was sick. And he was in the back bedroom on oxygen. So growing up, I was ashamed of him.
Sure. Embarrassed by him.
Yeah, and kind of scared in a way because I didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. They don't tell you anything.
Right.
In Spokane, it was very secret. Everything was. Who you were was a secret, basically. I wouldn't say it was repressed. It was just Norwegian. That's the way it was.
Right.
You didn't talk about the neighbors or you gossiped about them, but whatever. My mom was an extrovert and very gregarious. My dad also had been a drummer and played with Bing Crosby, so they were all friends. And they would have these sing-alongs at the house where they'd all get loaded and they'd sing around and harmonize. And it was just wonderful because I can remember as a kid being at the top of the stairs and hearing them singing and then the smell of the booze and, of course, the cigarettes. I had an older sister. She died when she was 48. I look at that period with a fondness and a sadness.
Yeah.
Because he was my dad, big Norwegian, funny, loved comedy. So anyway, that was kind of the childhood.
Yeah, and you played sports growing up?
Totally. I was into sports.
Were you just getting like recruited by all the coaches because you were big?
No, I was fast, and I loved sports. I was coordinated. It was the manifestation as a child of rage. There was a lot of rage coming out. I remember getting a lot of trouble for my temper.
Right.
And it would seem to snap. Anything humiliating. To this day.
Right.
I still have a reaction to that.
If you're embarrassed.
Yeah, or I don't even want to say more made fun of, humiliated. And yet I do it all the time to other people.
Yeah, me too. Isn't it the worst?
And I'll find myself saying something caustic. And didn't really mean to go there, but when I hear it, what? And the people are laughing, but they're hurt.
Yeah. It's almost like if you're a comedian, you're a utilitarian by design. You're going to make 9 people happy at the expense of 1 person, or
I know
100 people happy at the expense of 10.
And I watched comedy kind of shift too to becoming more of that, making fun of groups or people, and then it became caustic.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I mean, Richie Pryor could do it and do it in a way that I don't know was off color but funny.
Yeah. Again, though, he's a guy who from day one, owned his flaws like no other comedian had. So
Unbelievable.
there's an endearing quality to him because he's going, I'm real fucked up too. So
Yep.
I'm going to make fun of me, make fun of you, make
Yeah.
fun of everyone. Yeah.
So anyway, so growing up there it's not a place I enjoy going back to.
Right.
In a way, because it's such a dichotomy. I mean, it was so wonderful in many ways and so ugly in others.
Well, you must have been popular because you're outgoing and funny and you were an athlete. So I imagine you were popular and then probably felt not popular.
Well, that's always going to be the case, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's never going to be enough. And, Dax, I just didn't have any equipment to understand anything. I mean, I'm sure people tried to sit me down and talk to me about what was happening to my dad because you're watching this guy die.
Right.
And I can remember some of my friends in high school saying, man, I really love talking to your dad, because he's so smart.
Yeah.
And he's so well-read. And I'm thinking, really?
Yeah.
So I had this feeling of departure and also a feeling of guilt about not being able to accept him because I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah. This is so fucking common. So Monica, whose parents, her father from India, her mother second generation, as well, embarrassed by her really lovely parents who were supportive. Me, embarrassed by my dad at all times because he drank, sometimes aggressive with wait staff. And then mixed with all this shame that I'm not being outwardly loving to him and accepting and all those things. So it's like you're fucked on both sides, basically. You're embarrassed and you feel shame for all that.
Yeah, and I remember you and I talking about it, and I think that you reconciled with your father.
Well, as he was dying, we really kind of, got through it all. I don't know that without the program, my dad and I ever come back together.
Correct.
You know.
Even on his side. On your side, that reattachment would have tried to have happened.
Yes.
I mean, you would have tried to make that happen.
Right. But had he still been drinking, I'm sure I would have never been able to find any forgiveness or anything. I was so brutally judgmental of him. I mean, just more than any human being. I guess I looked at him and all the things I knew were pretty flawed about me, I gave him credit for giving me. All the things I was fighting, wrestling, my ego, my arrogance, all these things I had attributed to him. My mom was an angel, and he was the source of all these things I was fighting. And then, of course, now, years later, I'm like, also everything good about me is him, being outgoing and all these things. That's him to a T.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept me from really, when I got into the program, of being able to, I think, understand and accept a higher power. Because any kind of relationship like that, I was always, and still am, I think to a large degree, I think I just had a hard time accepting any kind of control in my life because I didn't have any.
Yes, right.
I'd run myself into the ground on self-will, so that didn't work. Mm-hmm. So any kind of relationship with a higher power was, for me, kind of really very difficult. And at the same time, I blame my higher power for taking my mom and my dad and my sister.
Right.
And I didn't understand any of that. Why did they have to go so young? And here I am abusing myself to the point of absolute debauchery and worse.
Yeah.
And thinking I'm having a great time doing it.
Yeah. And at times, I'm sure having a pretty darn good time.
It was a pretty good time. The joy of it is, I think, is that I saw in my dad this wonder for comedy, like on the Ed Sullivan Show. He loved comedians. And he loved the most eccentric ones. Mm. And I saw his acceptance and laughter and this wonder in him. And he was also a jazz musician. So he loved jazz music. And we'd play records on Sunday morning, and he'd get me to beat the pots and pans, and we'd have pancakes, and he'd go over to the Victrola, and he'd lift up the arm and say, "Did you hear that solo? Did you hear that solo? Listen to that solo." And I'm going, "Okay." So he put it back down. He said, "Listen." And I'd hear the beat and rhythm of the trumpet guy in the back or the drummer or whoever it was.
Yeah.
And he'd say, "Now listen to him." He'd be in the background. It wasn't in the foreground. And I thought, wow. So this is all like kind of osmosis, and I'm bringing it in, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm coordinated, and I've got timing. And those were the things that as I got into acting, because I couldn't do anything else, I was flunking out of everything. And really, I think I wanted to be that anyway, because that would make my dad proud.
Sure.
And those were the things that were servicing me.
Yeah.
Was timing and being coordinated, knowing when to come in.
Right.
And then being in the background, because I love being back there and then having my own little solo back there, as you know.
Sure.
And you do that really well.
Well, for me, Parenthood was the best thing that could ever happen to me because I was not the star of that show. And if anything, my storyline was probably fourth most time consuming. And all I wanted was to be the star of everything I was in. And I found more joy in that experience than I had in any other experience. So it kind of luckily, still relatively early on, taught me the joy of like, oh, I don't need the whole thing. And you were always my example of that. I would always tell myself, man, fucking Craig T will have one scene, 2 scenes. And when I think back on the episode, all I think of is his scene. You telling Mae Whitman in that junkyard, I don't give you permission to mess with my dreams. Like, I think of that whole season, that's my number one scene I think of. And I would watch you and I'm like, oh, you can do so much with so little. Stop thinking about what real estate you're claiming or anything. Just be special when it's time to be special, and you'll get plenty of praise. And that was the case. And what a great lesson to be forced to learn.
Well, yeah, I mean, that show for me was a turning point, really, because I got a chance to meet you, Peter, everybody. Everybody on that show was so incredibly gifted, and they all had something to bring. And then for all those people who are basically looking for stardom in some way, to mesh and unite and become a team and let it flow was fairly remarkable. I don't think, and I've said this a lot, I don't think I've ever seen it happen.
Yeah, the miracle of it is all these people who in the past had been the leads of their own shows, basically.
Right.
And we all came in and everyone took a back seat at different times.
Yeah.
And no one was grouchy about it.
Well, I was. I mean, I grouched out. I remember, and I realized what it was. It was like Max driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Because this kid playing this autistic kid was pissing me off. Because he was doing it so well.
Yep.
And he was irritating.
Uh-huh.
And we're in this scene in the hospital, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here today? I'm in the background. I'm just sitting there like a participant. I think I had one line, which was, here, have a donut. And he says, I don't want to, he yells at me, this kid. And I get, for some reason, it was a bad day and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point is, I went off.
Yeah. I remember this clearly.
And I got so pissed off. And I realized from long ago, the more pissed off I get, the more meaningful it is. The more confrontation I'm having with myself and with the part, it means that it's meaningful. There's something going on.
That's actually triggering real life Craig
Correct.
T fears, real life.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what the hell is going on? And I need to get pissed off to hide that. Give me a moment. I need to figure out what's going on in my life moment.
Right. Yeah.
I'm walking around, going to quit, going to do something. You got to get me. And
you and I had an amazing exchange. I doubt you remember, but
I totally remember.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I totally remember because you were so wrong. Anyway.
I want to hear that.
Oh, he was funny. Anyway, the point is, comedy and drama, the whole thing is confrontational. And when it gets confrontational is when it gets real. When it gets real is where the program and the experience come in. And that day on the set, I realized that part of this whole thing is going to be sitting there and not doing anything because that's what people do.
Right.
So get used to it and quit your little pity thing happening because you don't even know why you're pissed off.
Right.
You haven't figured that out yet.
Right.
And what's going on? So just sit there, and I did.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
I, of course, was relishing it because it's something I would totally do.
But we had one where he walks in, and we had this guest director, and she's wonderful, actually. She turned out to be really good. But she didn't explain herself very well, and so there was a couple of people. I walked onto the set. Somebody is confronting her, the director, with something. And I even forget what it was. So I go over and I'm thinking, how do I go to this person, the cast member, and say, let's just do this because it's like, really. Dax comes in. I don't understand what's going on. Why are you giving her? And she's pointing to me. And I'm like, Mr. Innocent, I'm sitting there and I'm going, why are you giving her such a hard time? I mean, she's just trying to direct a scene. My God, what's wrong? And I come up with the wittiest thing I could have said was, something? You really hurt my feelings. And he says, hurt your feelings? And it was so true. It was like, anyway, that's the one I remember.
But it was really fun to be around you because you and I have very similar triggers. So I would always if I was getting frustrated with a guest director, because I often felt like, oh, this person hasn't really watched the show. They don't actually know what I do. They're telling me to do something that I don't do. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I would feel powerless, and then a worse side of me comes out. But sometimes the way I would distract myself was I would focus in on Craig. I'm like, oh, this person's rubbing me the wrong way. They got to be driving Craig nuts. And then I would kind of just distract myself by watching you. Okay, so back to Spokane. So you eventually, you go to college. You go to several colleges.
Yeah, flunked out of Central. I went to Central Washington, flunked out of there. I went to Yakima Valley, got married, flunked out of there. Or would have flunked out of there. And then my dad died. I got married 3 days after my dad died because this date was set and blah, blah, blah. We moved to Phoenix because my wife's father was a helicopter pilot and he was a crop duster.
Oh, no kidding.
So I became a loader for him, loading the helicopters and then...
With pesticides?
With pesticides. Methylparathion to be specific, which is now... would have been close to Agent Orange.
Wow. Yeah,
so
that's
I got out of there. It really was. And I didn't, of course, you don't know it when you're doing it.
Right.
My father-in-law's family had a relative who was a Supreme Court Justice of the state of Arizona. So I applied to go to the University of Arizona through her, and she had some pull, and I got in. And that's where I found drama.
Mm-hmm. I really quick, the Planters Peanut guy, was that before all this?
Yeah, I was in high school, yeah.
Okay, so please tell Monica what job you had.
I was a box boy at Stagers IGA up in Spokane, which is really well known. But anyway, that's where my mom shopped and all the neighbors. And I walked in, and I used to steal a lot of beer out of there through the basement window. It was terrible. Anyway, so there was a guy there. He'd been a Green Bay Packer. I knew that. He worked for Planters Peanuts, and he said, we're coming out with this new line of dry roasted peanuts. And nobody had ever heard of dry roasted peanuts. And he said...
They were just wet roasting them prior to that? Okay, I don't know how you wet roast something.
And they had a little sample. And he said, now, I've got a costume that you would fit, and you could be the Planters Peanut. So they had this 6.5-foot fiberglass shell that weighed a ton with a monocle, and I looked like Planters Peanut with a top hat, and then I wore a little suit, and the monocle hole had a screen so you could see, and you wore black pants, and then you had your spats, and you had your little cane, and you go down and you say, would you like, you weren't supposed to talk. But I said, violating the script, would you like some peanuts? I tell you, I was an improv master, man.
You had a whole character that accompanied the Planters Peanut guy.
And I'd be there, and I would go around, and I was supposed to take all the little kids that were there with their moms, and they were grocery shopping, and they would follow me around. I had Planter Peanut handkerchiefs, and then we'd wave them, and and so little kids are mean. They're mean.
Yeah.
And they'd come up, and they'd grab my cane out of my hand, and they'd try to poke me through the monocle hole. And I had a screen on it, so it was almost like from inside your And sure enough, this one little kid kicks me in the shins, and I mean, it hurt. And it's like they're mean. So a guy says, he said he found me in the back, and I had the shell off, and I'm sitting there, and I'm going,
Shell off.
I'm out of here. And he said, hey, listen, man, I can't get anybody else that fits in it. You got to go out there. And I said, I don't, these kids, he says, just take them outside, wave at the traffic. You don't have to be at my age. I'm saying, yeah, well, that's a great idea. So we go out, and I've got like 10 kids, and then we all got handkerchiefs and wave at the traffic. And sure enough, the cars are coming, and a little kid shoves me in the back, and I go across the road.
No.
Yeah. And I got this shell on, and once you're leaning, you can't get upright again.
Oh, my
and I'm
God.
like streaking across the road, and, screech, people going, and I'm saying, I am so out of here. I am yelling from this peanut thing, and the kids are laughing. So that was my introduction to
Show business.
Show business. I hated it from the beginning.
And you leave Tucson and you end up in LA, and this is
65.
And it's
66.
Now I read this now I know your story, but I read this detail. Did you meet Barry Levinson at the Groundlings?
No, I met him at the Oxford Theater.
Okay, that didn't sound right to me when I read that. You didn't do Groundlings, did
I
you?
didn't.
Right,
But
okay.
I knew
they've claimed you, which is nice.
I know, which is weird. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Barry, he had his Chevy Malibu with Aramis cologne. He was living in the car. He come from Baltimore. And it was the Eddie Cantor Theater Foundation. They had scholarships, so I applied, got the scholarship, and went there. They had acting classes, so I did that and got into some plays. And Barry was there on a writing kind of scholarship thing, and he was just trying to get started and doing stuff. He didn't know what he wanted to do, really, and we were kind of friendly. And he says, he came up to me, he says, you're funny. Do you want to try this comedy routine? I'm thinking, what? Yeah, let's just work on some stuff. So we did.
Yeah.
We started working, we got a set, a half hour, and I found out that I really, really liked it. And he was like extraordinarily brilliant and wonderful and funny, and he was a really good performer. And so we put together some material, and I think we had like an hour and a half, and started auditioning, and we got the Ice House, and he would go out because he wasn't working. I was working at the First National Bank of Boston as a credit analyst, and he would go out and try to get us jobs as writers.
Right.
And
I'm nervous for anyone's credit you analyze, but that's neither here nor there.
Exactly. And the only course that I ever got an A in was accounting in high school. I apparently was just brilliant.
Okay, but I'm born to account.
I had a feel for figures in many ways. And it was like later on it really manifested itself. But Barry got us a job at NBC, which was a radio team, and they had 90 minutes live show. We got hired to do this show. And it was 90 minutes live on NBC, and it was local.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was unbelievable.
You were set, right? In your mind?
$90 a week.
It's awesome.
I quit the bank.
They collapsed, obviously. I don't see no Bank of Boston out here anymore. As soon as
And
you
then
left.
I went to, we got hired to do Tim Conway.
Right. So that's now, Tim Conway had a network show.
He had a 13-week show.
And you wrote on that, right?
And wrote and performed. And we had another
It was
guy,
like Variety.
and that was a network deal. So that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then we had the old Red Skelton offices at CBS, Television City.
Yeah.
And it was like the most famous writers in the world. And I got to be with these guys who were so quick and funny. And we were like the new guys on the block.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you feel like you belonged there, or
No.
did you feel fraudulent?
Totally out of place.
You probably partied more than those guys too, right? Was that
Not at that time. The guy that I hired to be my manager, Neil Anderson, and he was without a doubt the biggest criminal in Los Angeles.
Oh,
He
okay.
became my manager, and he was extraordinary.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he was amazing. You know, he was the first guy I saw that had a gun under the seat of his car, and it was a Magnum. And he would have,
Shot up a place.
yeah, he was graduate of USC in psychology and philosophy, and had been a Hell's Angel.
Oh, that's a nice combo.
And he was just really, really something, man.
Yeah.
And ran a lot of the heroin and cocaine that was coming into LA at the time out of the Holiday Inn. And
The Holiday Inn.
so
And he had a toe in show business.
I became kind of like, at the same time, kind of a courier
Okay, sure.
for his.
Hey, you got an audition over at Olympic in 3rd, and you're going to drive right by La Cienega in 3rd, so I'm going to give you a little thing.
Just drop it off.
Yeah, don't look in it.
No, and I didn't.
Right.
I was so afraid to. I loved what we did, but at the same time, I was obsessed with something. And I think I didn't like just being a comedy writer.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew better. Rudy and Barry knew better. They were so much emotionally smarter than me and wiser and mature that I was still just, beginning to experience the early stages of alcoholism.
Right.
And of course, it's the 60s, later 60s, early 70s. You got Vietnam. You got a whole bunch of reasons to go out and get loaded.
Sure.
Being part of something I didn't even know what was going on. And
Yeah. And a healthy chip on your shoulder?
totally.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I was married and had, at that time, now 2 kids. And
That's
so-
stressful.
totally. I was just so immature.
So then you do the craziest chapter of your life, which is you completely quit show business, even though you're gainfully employed and have met people that you can probably secure further employment. And you pick up and you move to the boondocks, Northern California.
Round Mountain was the name of the area that I was at. 299 East, and flipped a quarter when we got up there. And you can go west or you can go east, and came up, I forget heads or whatever. We went east.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you did 5 years out in the woods.
Yeah.
After having been in show business.
Correct. And it was Dick Shaw, Valerie Harper's husband, had given me a book called How to Build Your Own Log Cabin. But we went up there about 40 acres, and there was no electricity, no running water. And
Now, really quick, in retrospect, was this at all an attempt at a geographical cure for something that was going on?
yeah, I was doing a lot of psychedelics.
Okay.
And performing and loved it.
Uh-huh.
And at the same time knew I was in real trouble.
Right, like you were in a nosedive?
Correct. It was like Blue Barrels, what they called it at the time, which was acid, which was really strong. And then I was on.
And you could function on a stage
Totally.
on acid?
Totally.
No shit.
Yeah.
As daring as I've been, I don't know that I would feel confident performing on acid.
Yeah, I dropped it just before we did a set at the Comedy Store, and it was the 3 of us, and it was probably the best night I ever had.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which told me something.
Well, that's what happened to Jackie Gleason as well, right? If your first successful experiences are linked to, for him, it was booze, you're like, I need this thing to be, thing.
Right. I just needed booze just to go out in front of people.
Right.
I needed something.
Yeah.
I'm not going out there.
Right. Without some armor on.
Yeah, I'm not bringing that guy with me.
Yeah.
Whoever that guy is, I'll bring this guy.
Uh-huh.
And they won't know who this is because this guy does not exist without.
Yeah. And if you laugh at that guy, that's not even me, so I'm safe.
So we said, gone.
With your kids, you took your kids with you.
We had 2 then, and then Noah was born there. And I built a house. I was a logger, surveyor, janitor, teacher. I did a bunch of stuff, some of it not very good. And there was a lot of Vietnam expatriates there, guys that had been psych ops and a whole bunch of stuff, growing pot.
Looking to get lost.
Yeah, and they were.
Yeah.
It was an extraordinary time because I learned how to survive.
In general, did you enjoy it up there?
I loved it.
You did?
I just couldn't make any money.
Right.
And I had to come back. So I hitchhiked back. And
Well, while you were there, you had discovered all these musicians, right?
musicians, poets, authors, just people in general
Yeah.
that had moved out of the city and stayed in the country. Some of them didn't come out.
Uh-huh.
And it stayed back in
Ted Kaczynski, I think.
survivalists.
Yeah.
You know, you did have those people. The survivalists were some of my best friends. They were so willing to help you. It was an opening in terms of my mind and my thought processes about who is what and judgments. At the same time, these were the same people who would come up and ask me to go with them and bring my 30-30 down to Napa because they were going to go protest Cesar Chavez and they may want to kill him.
Okay.
But can we help you build your house?
Right.
So you got that thing going, and
Sure.
it's like, well, who am I? Who am I a member of? What do I belong? Where do I belong? Because I'm not a hippie, and I'd known another world.
Mm-hmm.
And so John Viner came up to do a concert at Shasta College, and I'd worked for John, and so I went to see him. He got me in the dressing room, and I just wanted to say hi, and he says, Craig, you got to come back, man.
You got to come out of the woods, my friend.
And that was kind of the split. That was
Yeah.
I left the kids, and that was really hard. My wife,
She stayed up there.
she did.
Oh. And then you have the best story of getting discovered I've ever heard, which is you decide upon getting to LA, you're going to make a documentary about the many eclectic musicians around the country. You're going
To make money, yeah.
You're going to go to Appalachia even.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you gather all these tapes, right? And you have an office. You're in your office
Uh-huh.
and you're hammered. You're editing and you're listening to all this music.
16 track. Yeah, I'm doing the
You're
whole
in there just in some world of your own,
God.
right?
Totally.
So you're blasting this music and you're pounding beers and doing God knows what else. And someone pops their head in the room, right? And says, what the fuck's going on in here?
Yeah, I love it. He says, I love that. I had no idea who it was. It was Sam Peckinpah. And he had an office and he was doing a movie called The Osterman Weekend. And I think I'd done Justice for All by then. Barry and Valerie Curtin had written a film,
Al Pacino.
And Barry came to the office one day and he says, and they're hanging around, and Barry said, hey, listen, there's a part, in Justice for All. Val and I have just written this movie. He says, you got to go audition. I says, and I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my
You're making
documentary.
it. Sure. 16 tracks.
Yeah, man.
Fiddlers.
And plus, I got cocaine. And,
I got a lot of happening in this room. I don't know that I can step
stuff
away.
going on.
God knows
Anyway.
what I'll miss if I leave this room. This is where it's all happening.
And he says, why don't you go audition? I'll set it up. He says, you'd be great. So I go over and I meet Norma Jewison and Al Pacino. And he's come on in and said, they start talking about it. And he says, well, Al wants to do a little improvisation. And so I'm thinking, okay.
Sure.
Well, off we go. And I'm doing stuff I don't even know. And I get hired. So I go to, and we do it. I'm still back in the office and I'm doing my thing. And this guy walks in, the armadillo. And
So
Sam
Monica,
Peckinpah.
Sam Peckinpah, most legendary crazy director of all time. One of them, had a gun on his side sometimes while shooting and stuff, right? And all these great westerns, just a renegade, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he was an amazing guy. And just another wounded warrior, really, one of us, who just couldn't express it, and brilliant guy.
Yeah. So he says to you, why don't you come down to the end of the hall?
Yeah.
And read for this movie I'm doing.
Yeah, and I just was so popped, I was so up and hammered, and I'm thinking, no.
Were you chewing an enormous piece of gum or something?
Yeah, I had I'm going to hide my breath from an alcoholic who's got booze down there in the office and can hardly wait to get to it. So I'm going down there, and sure enough, he says, well, why don't you read this? And the thought occurred to me, maybe I should read it from under the table.
Sure, of course.
So I did, and I slid down, and he didn't say anything.
You guys were a match made in heaven. He had been waiting all his life for an actor to get under that table.
And I'm reading it, and finally he says, what are you doing down there? And I take my gum out, and I put it on the table. I said, I'm putting my gum down here. And I come back up, and he says, oh, good. So we continue. He says, I want you to play this part. The problem is I'm going to have to convince a whole bunch of people about, because I
yeah, the guy down the hall who's all gacked up mixing some 16-track doc no one's going to ever see.
It was like so amazing to go to work and work with this guy and become one of his best friends.
Yeah.
Sam had a team around him, and you either loved him or hated him.
Right.
And he was not a hard guy to hate.
Uh-huh.
He'd bring a gun sometimes. And
Right.
Sam would, and you didn't know if it was loaded. And oh my God,
Right.
what are we going to do? And he says, I want you to I don't know yet. Let me think about it. And you say, Sam, what are we doing? And he says, don't talk to me now. I'm editing. I'm editing. But there's no equipment. And you say, well, in the camera, you fuck. It's in the camera. He would edit
Right.
up here.
Uh-huh.
It was so much fun. It was dangerous because that's where I went really.
Well, you're looking at someone who's highly regarded, very successful, and they're all fucked up. So you're thinking, oh, this can all be done while fucked up. I'm not going to have to make a choice between these things. You can do both.
Yeah, right. And I want to die as a poet anyway.
Right. You want a big romantic on fire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'll make the cover of Rolling Stone if
it's a spectacular enough death.
Can I flame?
Right.
So, yeah, it was a really dangerous time, Dax. Those of us that are susceptible to that call, that if I dedicated my life and sold my soul, so to speak, I could get it. Mm-hmm. And all I needed to do is just go a little bit further, just go a little more Dylan Thomas, a little bit more Rimbaud, and I'd have it. I'd have that
zhuzh,
that key.
Yeah.
And I could be a Picasso.
Also, that little bit of positive reinforcement is enough to keep the sinking ship afloat, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're succeeding on this other thing that, you desire, it can help you overlook what a travesty your personal life is, right?
Yeah. It's just a series of coverings. What can I cover this with? What can I cover that with? The thing for me that was so deceptive about alcohol and drugs was that I felt like I was abandoning those thoughts and those guilt feelings and all I was doing was just making them more intense for the next time.
Right.
So I had to do a little bit more to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And that in itself is like you're getting further and further away from the truth of who I was and becoming something that I thought I was, which is like completely wrong. Boy, something's got to,
something's going to have to give.
Something is, and I think it's going to be me, and I'm going down. So anyway.
But you have a couple of really spectacular things before you eventually go down, which is, I find highly amusing. One of them being you went and did that movie, Killing Fields.
Yeah.
Which is set in Cambodia, but you were shooting in Thailand, right?
Yes. I'd done all the right moves. I'd gotten yelled at by the director. It was one of Tom Cruise's first films. I was completely gone all the way through the movie. It was Johnstown, Pennsylvania. I might as well have been in New York.
Did you see in him? I'm just really curious. Really
yes.
Quick. You did.
He was such a great kid. He really was. And one night he was asking me about acting and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know I'm hooked up. They can hear me over the headphones.
Oh,
And I'm talking about acting like I know what I'm talking about.
You're Stanislavski.
Right. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm loaded. We're out there in freezing weather. And here's this great kid asking me, well, do you think, and I'm going, well, let me tell you about, So finally, Michael Chapman comes over. He says, I don't want you talking to my actors. So he's pointing at me. I think he's yelling. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't want you talking to my actor. And I says, fuck you, and and off we go. And we're fighting, and I'm getting in an underground parking garage, and I got him on top of the Chevy, and I'm pounding the shit out of him. His hat falls off. He's a director. Anyway, we get over there, and the sound guy comes over, and he says, you got $5 on you? And I says, huh? I'll sell it to you for $5.
All the audio of everything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And he says, I got it if you want it. And I said, oh, shit, that's the last thing I want to hear. Anyway, so I'm coming off of that. Yeah, go to Killing Fields.
It's a good place to go get your head
in
straight. Thailand.
Oh, my God. I get arrested in Hong Kong on the plane, Aer Lingus, and because of the stewardess, I says, I got a headache. She says, you have been drinking the entire flight. We're now just getting ready to land in Hong Kong. She says, here. She gives me some Valium.
Oh, that's nice.
And whatever chemicals I had in me, when the Valium hit, I had Bob Seger playing, and I cranked him up. And now the people in first class are going, you got to get rid of this guy. So the police, Hong Kong police, come down the ramp, and I'm going out. I says, can I go out and just get some air?
That's all you need, yeah.
Boom, you're coming with us. And we go down. And they strip all my tapes. And that's thinking that, I got microfilm? I have no idea. Now I'm yelling at the Hong Kong police. Oh, God. Anyway, so we make it to Thailand. That was just the beginning. And
Sure.
the next thing you know, you're rolling. You can get anything, anytime, anywhere. You know, and the next thing I know, I'm on every drug there is,
Right.
using it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Up, down, in, out. I mean, I burn up my boombox because I plug it in thinking, whoa, we're on the same electrical.
You're running 220 in your Bob Seger tape.
And it goes kaboom. And I've got stuff, I don't even know what it is. And I'm taking it and I get so, yeah, I'm gone. And Doria says, I think on the phone, I'm going to come out and see you. And, you know, this is the woman that I love, but I don't know who she is. I have no idea who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes out to visit. And in the meantime, I've contracted this kind of allergic reaction to everything I'm taking. And I literally have got the worst case of dysentery you have ever seen.
Should have known it was that kind of story.
And then I'm taking other things to combat that.
Sure.
Which is like, anyway.
Firm things up with some opiates.
Oof.
Yeah.
And the point being,
You've kind of forgotten at this point that Dory's coming, right?
totally. And I get a knock on the door. I think I've been with somebody. I'm not sure. And I'm missing like $3,000. So hotel security has been up there. And I'm in my underpants because I don't want to put anything else on. And I try to tell them, I don't know who was here. Somebody's got a key to this room.
Something had got to be did.
Next thing I know, knock, knock, knock. Ah, it's a scare. I open the door. There's Doria. Hi.
Oh.
And she looks at me
Oh.
and she said, my God, what's wrong? Craig. And I go, what? She says, you're gray.
Oh.
Uh-huh. I said, I got dengue fever.
Dengue fever.
She says, what? Yeah, the doctor was just here.
Doctor just left with my $3,000. Dengue fever. Oh,
She said, well, what is that? I said, it just wraps
it's
your
tropical.
whole body.
It's a tropical. Oh my
You can
goodness.
only get it here.
Talk about thinking on your feet, boy. You brought dengue fever. Oh, does that kill me?
Yeah, it was.
So despite all that, you come
that
home.
was it. Yeah, it was pretty much.
Well, no, we still have Poltergeist.
I'd done Poltergeist before.
Oh, that was before Killing
yeah,
You?
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
81.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd done Poltergeist.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
And then Poltergeist is where I become aware of you as an actor. Like I see Poltergeist when I'm young, and I remember every part of that movie and that performance. And whenever I think of that movie, I think of you in the mirror, sticking your belly out, pulling it in, sticking it out, pulling it in.
Before or after, yeah.
Yeah, before and after. It was real enough that it stuck out even as a kid. I was like, oh, I don't see guys do that in movies. Like, oh, this guy is acting like a real dad. Like there was some breakthrough-y thing about that. It just really was an impactful performance and then I just loved the movie, as every single person did. And then boy was I delighted when I got to know you and just to know what you had gone through on that movie. And then I watched it again after you told me those stories. And that scene that I love with the belly, what I had missed in that scene is that your pupils are the size of manhole covers. And in fact, they're the size of manhole covers the whole movie.
Yeah.
You are gacked to the gills in that movie. It's incredible to me that you could perform that well.
Well, isn't that the lie, though?
Well, in this case, it's not really a lie. You were really brilliant.
To the performer, is the lie is, well, I can't do this not loaded.
Right.
I've got to have a buffer.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, I've done all this work. What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And the big lesson for me was, so And I made a mess of Poltergeist. I really did afterwards.
Well, you had a heart attack during the movie, right?
Yeah, I had a tachycardia, and they said a virus muscle was attacking my heart muscle. That's what they said it was. And I had been in that pool that we had dug in the back and blah, blah, blah. And there was all those skeletons and all this stuff in there.
Mud and the rain.
So I don't know what I picked up, and I could have picked it up from somewhere else. But the point being, it was time to get out of that. And then the real turning point, I think, was when I got with Toby Hooper, who was assigned a directing job on that. And Toby and I conspired to come up with this stuff about Steven Spielberg that it was ruthless and it wasn't right. And I did it. I realized that I was now out of control.
Well, didn't you were put in the hospital, and then you were in your hospital gown, and you needed cigarettes at some
Noah,
point.
my son, my youngest, came in, and he was on the set of Poltergeist all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was in intensive care, and I had my own bag that had I'm still
Sure, you're still
my
medicating
chemicals,
yourself.
and
Yeah.
they're giving me stuff at the hospital,
Right.
and so I'm now just fine.
Right where you need to
Oh
be.
man. Trouble is, I need some smokes, but I'm in intensive care and I've got a hospital gown on. So Noah's there visiting me. I says, and he's 9. Let's go over to the Sagebrush Canteen. I'll grab some smoke. Come on. He says, Dad, what are you going to? I said, we'll go out this way. Oh, my God. Sneak out. So, hey, how you doing? The bartender looks at me and goes, what are you doing? I said, I'd like a pack of smoke. He says, can I tell you something? You're not dressed.
Oh,
And he said, and besides,
you're not dressed.
your producers are in the back room.
Having
I
dinner.
I would get out if I were you.
Uh-huh.
So he gives me the smokes. I go.
Yeah. By the way, can you imagine you see your lead actor coming in and out of the restaurant you're eating at in a fucking hospital gown to buy a pack of cigarettes?
my
How
God.
panicked are you? And if you're not an addict, can you really know what someone's going through? If they're like showing up and doing the job and all that,
I don't
it's
know.
probably really confusing.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot like the stories you hear after you get sober about the other actors or stars or whatever that have gone on while they've been working,
Yeah.
where they put their booze and who knew.
Right.
Point is that I couldn't continue to keep doing what I was doing.
Right. The end was near.
Yeah. I can't do that. And so I can't act without
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
That's terrifying. Mhm.
And I'd been hired to do a job.
Oh my God, right. Oh my God, I forgot this. This makes me so
I
happy.
s-
You thought you were doing a movie, right?
With Poltergeist. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
I
God.
thought we were doing a movie of the week.
Right.
But the contract said that if it did really well, that there was a series attachment.
It was a pilot, and it got picked up, right?
Yeah.
And everyone was celebrating. And Craig thought, wait, I thought this was a movie of the week.
I had no idea. Oh, by the way, you're going to get sober and come back to do something that you did drunk.
Right.
And I came back and I literally did not know
If you could do it. So
if I could do it. Yeah.
And did you find out pretty quickly that you could, or was it a process?
It was going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
I was completely, I was stripped. So January 21st, 84 was my sobriety date.
Mm-hmm.
I think we started in March. Not a long time.
No.
What do I do?
Right.
I have no attachment to emotional recall, none of the things that I'd used. I feel fantastic in a way, but I don't feel like acting.
Right.
So we get to the set, and it was at Paramount, and the director comes over and he says, we're shooting a scene, and he said, I'm not getting it. I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, it ain't working. And he was right. I was playing it, but I wasn't connecting in the same way. I wasn't,
Yeah.
And I knew I couldn't get there because none of that stuff was there anymore.
Right.
All of the angst at this time, I'm kind of on the pink cloud.
Right. Well, and I say this sometimes to people who are curious about acting. I'm like, there is a slight advantage when you're called upon to do an emotional scene where you're going to want to remember something that was very painful. And for a raging addict, one need only think back to probably that morning or the night before. You know, it is right there. You did something probably 4 days ago you're hoping no one calls about. And then if you're living a pretty good life, you just got to go back further and further and further, you know? So there is a little bit of an advantage to living in a fucking hurricane and being an actor.
And you're living in pain anyway. And pain is your friend and pain is your enemy. And that's what you're trying to get rid of and absorb more of. I went over, he says, you're not doing it. I said, give me a minute. I said, God, if you want me to do this, if this is what I'm meant to do, can you help me out here?
Right.
Because I got a real problem. Can you help me out?
But by the way, higher power or not, the act of being humble enough to say, I can't do this, does something in and of itself.
Yeah, and that's been my key ever since. I really do have to acknowledge the fact that I'm doing this pretty much at somebody else's nickel here.
Uh-huh.
As a result, I came away from that moment on stage and I went back to the scene and I was able to do it. The director came out and said, that was really good. I don't know what you did, but that was really good. And all I knew was, okay, if this is a gift, I got to be really careful about this. Because if I start taking credit for it, I know where this is going to go.
Right.
And I can't claim it as being something, even if it's good or bad. I can't claim it as being mine because it isn't. All I am is a vessel to do it, you know. And I've got my ego still running with me. It's still tagging along, and I'm carrying it like it's important.
Well, and you care a lot.
And I care a lot.
One thing I'll say is that I was impressed with the fact that when we started that show, you were, I guess, 66, 65.
Yeah.
And you genuinely cared. And I remember thinking, boy, I hope I have the fortitude to even still care then. Like, I can imagine myself just being like, whatever. Like, whatever gets us to lunch quicker is what I want to do.
Right.
You genuinely were passionate about how these scenes should go and how your character should go and stuff. And I think that's admirable. So how many years into sobriety before you got coach?
4 years.
4 years. That's a great time to get that, don't you think?
Yeah, it was such a gift. But the whole thing's been, Dax.
Oh, yeah. But I'm just saying sobriety-wise, like you've got a nice little foundation.
Yeah.
They say your thinking kind of returns at like the 5-year marker, they kind of say.
Yeah, I started sleeping.
Uh-huh.
And after 2 years, I think I started sleeping again.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I hadn't been sleeping for like 35 years.
Right.
Right?
You know, that dengue fever, boy, it'll really take a toll on your REM.
Yeah.
But you get coach. Was your ego in a good place when you decided to do that show, or did you have reservations about
Reservations. I didn't want to really do it. It was really good money.
Uh-huh.
So I said, okay. And I felt at the time, because I've been doing movies. I'd done some television, but mainly doing movies. I was working my way back up again into that kind of moviedom.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, do I want to do that? Well, yeah.
Well, that was also in an era where you felt like if I go do a sitcom, my movie career is done. So I'm making that decision.
You're sellout.
Right. Which now, of course, doesn't exist. But then there was this huge...
It was real.
Right.
It was real. It was like, well, you sold out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I did it, and we did the pilot. Bob Iger shows up. He's this young kid from New York. He's been a sports guy. He shows up. He's now the head of ABC. And he says, I saw your show. I really like it. We're going to put it on the air. And then it was like 9 years.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, it was an exploration of being sober, working with networks and that hierarchy and my own self-will and control.
Right.
Because now I'm the star.
Yeah.
And now I got to be something.
Uh-huh.
And me and myself and the creator, Barry Kemp, did not get along.
Uh-huh.
And he wanted me to do things, and I didn't want to do them, and blah, blah, blah. So we're now have this hate thing going, and I'm very uncomfortable. He's very uncomfortable. And it's permeating the set.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm exercising my emotional blackmail all over the place. And I can make you feel bad by just looking at you. And I realize I'm in trouble emotionally.
Right.
And because it's starting to physically affect me. And then finally it snaps and they call me up to the Black Tower.
Mm-hmm.
And This may be the second year.
Oh, really?
I go up, and I've complained about them coming down. We shot on Fridays, 2 shows. Then after the last Friday show, you had pickups.
Mm-hmm.
They would come down, the writers and the producers come down, and they had their red paper cups with booze in them.
Uh-huh.
And they would get loaded. And then we're there till 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're giving direction about what they want and reshoots, and I'm just getting more pissed and more pissed.
Yeah.
I smell the booze. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I can hear the slurs starting and
Yeah.
the laughter over stuff that's not funny.
Some I love yous probably.
So they call me up, and my lawyer said all he wants them not to drink on the set.
At work.
He says, that's unreasonable. I says, okay, I tell you what. I'm in the dressing room, in the green room. I'll do lines of coke and come out, and we'll see how unreasonable this whole fucking thing is, okay? So we make peace.
Uh-huh.
And the next thing I know, it's 4 years, and I'm on the set, and Barry and I are managed to get along, and he comes up, and he says, I want to talk to you. And he sits me down, and says, I want to make you executive producer of the show. He says, you run it from the floor. So I do.
Do you look back and think, God, I wish I could have enjoyed that miraculous?
I enjoyed it, man.
You did?
Totally.
Oh, good.
Oh, totally.
Oh, good.
No, I see Barry Kemp all the time.
Uh-huh.
In fact, we tried to do a reboot,
Right, right.
and it just didn't work.
Uh-huh.
For whatever it's worth, I had so much fun.
Oh, good. And that's when you got crazy about racing.
Crazy about racing, yeah, and that took the focus away from, as you know, because all you can do is focus on that.
Yeah.
It takes your money and your focus, and that's pretty much, it was still so dangerous.
Yeah, yeah.
It hadn't yet gotten to the point where these guys are like almost in airplanes now,
Mm-hmm.
and they're as safe for
Yeah.
the most part,
Yeah.
which is pretty remarkable.
Oh, totally. Yeah, they're going 220 miles an hour, and they're surviving all these crashes. now, for
Surviving
most
the
part.
crashes, and it's all about the safety precautions are enormous. And yeah, I did the IMSA prototypes, and I had a Riley Scott chassis and 2 of them, 2 cars, and Lozano Ford did the engines, and it's 5-liter,
Uh-huh.
and so it was about 560 horsepower,
In an 1,800-pound car or something?
2,000
2,000 pounds?
with the driver. Yeah,
That's bonkers. That's real shit, Monica.
Sounds
Yeah,
real.
yeah. That car will go upside down and hold itself on the road. It's got enough downforce. I mean, it's a real...
yeah.
So
It was pretty amazing to go to Daytona for the first time, and you find out you really love something, want to do something, and you think you can do it. And then you realize you really are scared shitless. The first time I went, we went, did a drive-through on the track, and the raking on the oval is so steep that I couldn't sit in the passenger seat. I was like leaning over and I'm looking up, thinking, there's no way.
It's
There's no
cars
way
not
I can drive on.
Uh-huh.
And then when you do it at speed and you're getting on it, and it's like your neck is like, it ges swollen. And you can't move after a while. You cannot move your neck. So you have to wear a strap that's connected to your helmet so you can cinch it up as you're going in the race. As you're getting more to your neck muscles are fatiguing. And I was like coming off the tri-oval on the straightaway, and my head goes clonk. And I can't lift it.
Uh-huh.
So I have to take my hand and lift it.
Ratchet
and
your head
Oh
up.
my God.
But by the time we met, I think I was like going to the track or something, and I was like, why don't you come, Craig? Come with me to the track. There's going to be 3 cars there or whatever. And you said, I will never go to a track again. It ended up for you being nearly as serious as your addiction to alcohol and drugs, right? It
Yep.
really became something you had to quit.
Yeah, I had to pull the needle.
Yeah.
I loved it. There's just nothing like it.
Yeah, it
The
is.
camaraderie, the
Yeah.
engines.
Yeah. The appeal of it is not necessarily what you think it is, but particularly when I'm doing track days on the motorcycle, you cannot not focus on the task you're doing in the present for even 1 second, or you will crash. And the freedom from my thoughts for hours at a time, that's the real appeal of racing, is it just requires 100% of your focus, or you're in,
Yeah.
you're in
Yeah.
the grass.
Yeah.
And that's what's so euphoric about it for me.
Totally. And you're absolutely spot on. And until the ballet goes bad, it is the most remarkable experience you'll ever have. I remember being third at Road Atlanta, which was one of the more...
That's a fast, scary track.
Scary tracks.
That downhill under the bridge.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Coming over that. I came over that in the rain, and you come up this top, and you're doing about 140. You come up over the top, and you lift a little bit. And come
a little
down,
light.
And it's off camber, and you're going, oh, shit. And you get it, come through there, and it's like, I made it. It's like every lap.
Yes. It's like jumping from rooftop to rooftop, and he's like, I got through. Yeah.
It's just remarkable.
Yeah.
And
okay, so you quit racing, and that's probably for the best. I'm sure Dory was happy, and you went straight into golf with the same vigor, right? You're as obsessed with golf now as you ever were racing.
I was, yeah.
Oh, have you peeled back that a little bit?
Yeah, something. Well, to me, the whole purpose of what I'm doing now is to get closer to that spiritual force that has kept me sober over these years. But I'm finding that 5 hours on a golf course with people that I don't really spend a lot of time with, I don't necessarily have a great time out there anymore.
So what are you doing now for fun?
I'm writing with my son.
Oh, you are? Yeah, Noah's a great writer.
Noah has got a script that we've been working on for about a year. And we sold it.
For television or a film?
It's for television. It's a 10-parter.
Oh, great.
And it's exciting. And he came up with this idea about a year and a half ago, and I loved it.
Isn't it? It's beautiful to be able to share your work with your son, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I'm in awe.
Yeah, I can't imagine being able to do that with my daughters. It would be the highlight of my
And
whole...
it was his desire also to do it with me. And I'm hoping that we get a chance to do it.
Do you think, though, that you could frame this as a, we're in the show up and work business, not in the results business, and ultimately who gives a flying fuck? If you get to spend a year with Noah in process... That's the reward, even if it never goes on TV or anyone ever sees it, or if it's the thing you set out to make, like just sharing this experience with Noah is the destination.
No, that's such a mature way of looking at it.
Not going to do it.
I would say that in an interview. But to you, I will tell you no.
Good.
I want to see it happen because what he came up with
deserves to be fought for.
To be seen. And I want to see him be able to experience that.
Yeah.
Because I've had that.
Right.
And I abused it. But I did have it. And there were moments when we did Parenthood where it was like joyous and free.
Yeah.
And so that's...
Well, I don't know about from your side of the couch, but for me, we didn't get many scenes together for whatever reason. I don't think anyone was conspiring against us, but when we had scenes, I just would always get to work and I would like look at the sides and I'd be like, oh my God, I have one with Craig. And we just always had so much fun horsing around, right?
Oh God. You said to me once, you said, I had my hair all messed up and it was kind of longer then. And I came into the scene with Bonnie and we're in the kind of washroom. She's doing his laundry and Dax is there and his Crosby, and he says, you look like you got in a fight with a leaf blower. And going home, I'm thinking about the scene. I'm thinking, oh, I knew what I should have said. And he says that, and I should have said, yeah, I won. And because it was a perfect Zeke comeback. But he would do things like that and make you think. And there was a freedom. It was wonderful because there was a freedom that was acknowledged and accepted.
Encouraged, I'd say.
Encouraged.
Yeah. And it was like true play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I genuinely love you. I always felt so grateful that you were the guy that was going to play my dad for 6 years. You
Same
know?
here.
Yeah. I just always was like, oh, I fucking hit the lottery.
Yeah. It was so great. I mean, we had such a
We're
good
so
time.
similar.
Very
with these big noses, we're tall, we're fucking weird, we move weird, your hands are always dancing around when you're making a point. My wife's like, Jesus Christ, well, I know who I'll be married to.
Just settle down. Yeah.
Well, Craig, I thank you so much for driving all the way from Malibu. Did you have to evacuate in the fires, or were you
I
fine?
did, yeah.
You
We
did?
evacuated 15 days, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I went and lived with Noah for 3 days, and then I went out to the Hyatt Regency in Westlake,
Okay.
and they take the animals. So I had Gilbert the cat and Nugget the dog in a hotel room with all the other evacuees, and it was terrifying, Dax.
It was.
Really was.
Because
Yep.
some houses in your neighborhood do burn down, yeah?
Oh, yeah, our next door neighbor's gone.
Oh, my gosh.
Point Doom is like, there's maybe 80 houses gone.
Oh, my God. I
It was
didn't
all
realize.
the perimeter on our property, and then within 10 feet of the house.
Wow.
And we saw it going, and for almost a week, we didn't know whether the house was gone or not. You couldn't get in, and it was, and is, a really terrifying thing to go through.
Yeah.
And the people that have lost their places are, PTSD. Talked to a lady yesterday, lost everything. Been there 50 years.
Oh, man.
We went and did, the other day, we went and did this panel for Incredibles 2.
Right. Which, by the way, was spectacular. It was so good. I took the girls,
Oh, you did?
and we had a fucking party.
I'm doing this panel, and they're screening the movie, and then they ask you questions afterwards. And it was raining that day, and I didn't want to go, and I didn't want to answer questions, and I don't know what to say. And I'm sitting in this chair, director's chair, and all I can think of as I'm sitting there is, how the hell did I get here?
Uh-huh.
And when I look at it, and I think, well, this is meaningful. It's really meaningful because it's impacted so many people.
Oh, yes.
What are you doing isolating again, in terms of where I was?
Yeah.
And this is like the rapid thought you go through as you're sitting there waiting to answer a question.
Yeah, right.
And so I just found it interesting. I thought, once again, you have no idea of the enrichment that you've been given.
Well, also, it's this really tricky thing for you and I to navigate, which is, that you better not sit there and take stake of how successful it is and how much you had to do with that and how many people you touched. Because once you're on that road, you're fucked, right? That's not a good road for us. But by protecting ourselves from doing that, we also can miss out on shit. You can also not recognize that I, Dax Shepard, your friend, sat in a movie theater for 2 hours with my children, laughing, squeezing each other's hands, looking at each other and smile. And they'll remember that for the rest of their life. So that is happening too. And that's worth experiencing and feeling, and yet not heading into the fucking grandiosity of I'm the center of this universe.
Totally. I mean, that's totally right on. And you know what? It's to be celebrated.
Yes.
I mean, my God, what?
Once in someone's lifetime would they end up in a movie like that, if they
what
were
I mean?
so lucky.
Dax, when I saw Iron Giant in Hawaii for the 4th time, Doria and I are watching it in beautiful Kauai, and Iron Giant's such a great movie. And I'm crying at the end of it. And I turn to her and I go, I just would really like it. Maybe if I could just do one of those. 2 weeks later, I get a script in Hawaii called The Incredibles.
Uh-huh.
Hey, those are the guys that did Iron Giant.
Yeah, that's suspicious.
And I didn't have Siri then.
Right.
So the connection. And there it is.
Yeah, so do it again, okay? Because I want to take my kids and listen to Grandpa Zeke.
Yeah.
Jack.
Math is math.
Well, I love you so much, and I'm very, very grateful you came out.
I'm so...
made the trip.
Thanks for asking me, man. Thanks, everybody.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman. I wanted to update you on my earwax. It's such an interesting conundrum. It's a paradox.
Tell me.
Because as we both know through 23andMe, I have genetic wet earwax.
That's right. Disgusting earwax.
Well, hold on. I guess I just have scabs in my ears. On the airplane, I pulled a scab out of my ear today flying home from New York. Yeah, and I thought, well, I'm definitely going to tell Monica. And then I thought,
should I tell everyone?
Yes, that's exactly what I thought. And I was like, what will be the limit of how gross I am where people, they just finally tune out? I'm talking about poop my pants. You know, I talk about.
I don't want them to tune out on the fact check because of your scabby ears.
Well, I'm afraid they're going to tune out just period. Forget the fact check.
How big was the scab?
It was the size of half a piece of rice. Uncooked rice. And
That's
I got to
pretty
tell you,
big.
honestly, it looked very much like a piece of uncooked rice.
Oh, was it?
It wasn't like black. It wasn't a black scab.
Are you sure it wasn't just wax?
Dry
then?
earwax?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is the paradox. I must have a co-dominant gene where I have wet
Of course, you
and...
spun this into.
So blessed. So blessed. I think I have dry and wet earwax, Monica,
Maybe the wet wax, some of that dried up.
into this piece of rice.
Yeah, and now you're making rice in your ears. Well, I had a scab in my ear. Remember when we were on vacation? This is so gross.
No. When you showed me that, remember, it led to me telling you the story about Bree's cobalt blue wax that was extracted from her head by a doctor. It was cobalt blue. It was fucking beautiful.
Why? What
It was
did
like
the
an ear
doctor
infection,
say?
and then it was just this beautiful cobalt blue.
So you're making rice. She's making like rock, like
Yes.
precious stone.
She's making igneous rocks. Blue igneous. It was so
I
beautiful.
like sedimentary.
I don't. It's so weak. You can't make a countertop. Well, it's
It looks beautiful.
but you can't make a countertop out of it. It just
Igneous
breaks everywhere.
felt so
Ignoramus.
masculine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, she's making precious stone.
Yeah. Kind of like
for her.
I wouldn't say aquamarine though. That's the wrong description because it was cobalt. It wasn't a soft blue like my brother's beautiful
What, like
eyes.
your shoes?
Yeah.
Not those shoes.
Yeah.
Dax got some new fancy shoes.
Well, more accurately, Monica bought me
Some
a
fancy
beautiful pair of Jordan 4s.
Well, I bought them for you because you tried to buy them yourself and you did a bad job.
The order got canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I found a way.
You figured it out.
Yeah.
And they're
I'm good at
cactus.
shopping.
You're really great at it.
Yeah.
I just gave you a compliment in your absence in New York. Someone was talking about how they're good at finding stuff online. Oh, I know what it was. I saw your friend Rachel. I saw her a second time. I
you
saw her in the
did.
hotel lobby last night, and her buddy was talking about how she can find things on the internet. She was saying that she had found a warehouse that still had like 200,000 bottles of the perfume. She ended up buying them for like 20 cents on the dollar. And then I said, you know who's great at finding stuff on the internet? Monica. Oh. Yeah. Long walk for me to tell you that I was talking about you in New York, but I thought it would make... Thank you.
Yeah. That's a nice compliment. I don't know that I deserve that compliment, to be honest.
Take it. Just take it. Take
No,
the note
I
and move
only
on.
take the ones that I believe in.
Okay. I wish we had both seen Bless This Mess last night so we could discuss it.
Need to. I have a bad feeling about it. I'll just be honest.
But you had that about Good Place too. You just have a bad
That's
feeling
true.
about yourself and stuff.
Yeah.
You had a bad feeling about chippies.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, at a certain point you'll go, oh, it's just a pattern. Don't listen to it.
Maybe.
Or hope.
You'll be happy to know my manicure's still going.
Oh, great news.
Yeah.
Great update.
It's held up. It still looks great. I still am getting compliments. See, those are compliments I can take because I know it's true.
Right.
I know
okay.
that this current manicure looks good.
Right.
It's not a brag because it's not my nails. It's the manicure. It's what they did at the place.
The manicurist is getting a compliment,
That's
basically.
right.
It's kind of like when people say, I loved Parenthood, and I always feel weird saying thank you because I didn't make Parenthood. Jason Kadam's made Parenthood. So I'm always like, that's his
that's
compliment.
silly because they're telling you that they like the what you did in that.
By the way, you know who I saw in the airport today? Vince Vaughn.
You did?
Yeah, talked to him for about 20 minutes this morning before my flight. And then I got to say to him, oh, Justin Long was on this
Yeah.
week, and he told the best story, and he does such a good impersonation of you. And I said, he told the story about being at the chateau and how you go like, a lot of guys would love to get their hands on you. They'll be so lucky,
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, did you have a thing that you turn girls away with? Like, did you have a strategy? And I'm like, no. I was like, is there a bathroom here we can fuck in? I was the
jeez.
opposite.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. What did you
he
expect
say?
I was going to say? Do you think I had a method of getting rid of
No,
pretty girls
I know
that like
that
me?
that's what you do. Yeah. But did he have a reaction to that? He just laughed.
Very little.
Okay, bye.
I wanted more. I thought he'd be like, oh, he's so honest, but I should have told him that I have gross earwax that was the shape of a rice. By the way, he looked so fucking good looking.
He did.
He did. He's better looking.
Really? He's growing with age?
Well, just his skin looked beautiful. He looked slim and healthy. He looked great. Like, I was looking at him, I was like, you bet your ass people were coming over to his table to ask for a cigarette.
Some.
I mean, he's so gorgeous in real life. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah, he's really a fox.
Let's get him in here.
I would love to.
I'm interested in getting him in here.
Yeah.
Wait, what I was going to say, when people say they like Parenthood and you don't know how to say that, but they are saying that they like you because they're saying they like what you've done on that show.
I feel you. I know what you're saying, but and if they said like, "Oh, I loved your acting on Parenthood," then I'm like, "Oh, thank you." But when they just say I love Parenthood, I'm like, I didn't make it.
But they're saying, "I love Parenthood. You're so good on it."
Oh, I'll just
sometimes mainly they say that.
No,
I think you're so good.
You're so tall in real life. That's mostly all anyone says to me in real life.
That's like, I posted a picture of my mom and me this week for Mother's Day. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't.
I posted a picture. I'll show you right now.
Okay.
Of my mom and I on Mother's Day.
Oh my. Look at that little brown baby on your mom's lap.
Yeah.
Oh my.
That's me.
God.
Okay, well, two things about this picture. One, what I was going to say is your thing about not being able to take a compliment.
Oh,
Eric said, "Oh, your mom's teeth are so white."
Oh,
And I was like, I agree. But I felt I couldn't say thank you. It's not my teeth.
That's exactly the same thing.
It's the same thing.
That's exactly what I experience.
A lot of people do that with my fake mom, too. Like, if they meet me, "Oh, I love Kristen." I know, me too.
Oh, girl.
I know.
Listen.
Well, they say that about you, too, actually.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people said that this week about you. Look, I went to 2 different parties. One for Fox, for Spin the Wheel, comes out June 20th.
Watch it.
Yeah, my game show. You could win $23 million. It's spectacular.
I can't wait to watch it.
It's me in a suit with slicked back hair being a game show host, but being weird on top of it.
Weird.
The second party I went to Tuesday night, last night, was the ABC for Bless This Mess.
Yeah.
There was 1,800 people at that party. I asked the organizer.
Wow.
The night before, it was even more people. And so I have to say I met at least 700 of those people. If I'm being honest, I think I definitely met 700 of them.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. And to your point, I love your wife, which is so nice.
It is nice.
And then one woman said, "You're going to hate me, but I like your wife way more than you." And I'm like, I do too.
But also, like, why would you say that?
Yeah, it's totally fine if you like her more than me. You don't need to share that with me. I'll be just fine not hearing that.
Like, if people could just turn the tables on themselves. If somebody said, "I like your husband so much more than you," like that's okay. No one thinks it's okay if you're saying that to a person on the street. Right. Why do they think it's okay to say that to a celebrity?
But to your point, which you always point out, and you're smart to do so, some people are they're nervous and they don't know what they're saying. So I understand that as well. But anyways, Craig T. Nelson. I love him so much.
He's your dad. You're alive dad.
He's my last living dad. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, no. You've had some other dads.
Well, and my father-in-law, Tom Bell, who I love.
You have your father-in-law, Tom Bell, who we love. Mm-hmm. You have Beau Bridges. You have my dad. Mm-hmm. You have, what other dads have you had in movies?
Well, I guess Tim Robbins was my dad in Zathura.
Oh.
That's a
good dad.
High status dad.
Yeah, it's a great dad. He's a great dad.
Tell me more about your dad. I want to meet that dad.
But Craig is
he's my real dad.
He's the real dad, yeah.
6 years is my dad.
You know, there was that one scene where you're crying and you're hugging him.
Oh,
do you remember that?
No. What had happened? What happened? What had happened was
because you had really ruined your life.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
You were coming out of jail?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I get out of jail. I walk to the car. He's standing there.
Yeah.
Yep. I now remember. I can see where we were at in real life at the Universal lot. It was like a loading dock.
Right.
Yeah. That was a cool night.
Yeah.
Anytime I got to be emotional with him, I really liked it.
Yeah. He's so good on that show. It's incredible.
He's a great lesson if you're an actor because he never tries.
Yeah. It's so
all happens.
natural.
He just knows it'll happen.
Yeah.
And he's patient, and it happens every time. And he can bring it out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so lovely. Ethan Hawke type.
Rare birds, precious stones.
Precious,
Just like
igneous,
just like breeze
cobalt
here.
blue infection. Oh, I love Brie. I hope she doesn't mind that I'm talking about her
I
cobalt
feel like
infection.
she'd love it.
I think she might, yeah.
Who wouldn't love
What
that?
an accomplishment. Who have you met that has made cobalt blue
I
igneous
know,
in their
I'm
ear canal?
impressed. I wish I had that.
It was huge, and she brought it back in like a fucking plastic test tube.
Do you think something got lodged in there?
I'm not ruling anything out. She was in Guatemala for 3 months, living in like a hostel. Who knows
What she picked up?
Maybe some exotic bug burrowed into her ear, and then like that's the source of the cobalt blueness or something.
Maybe.
Mm.
Oof.
I wonder if she still has it. I can see where she
Oh,
would.
you mean the piece?
Yeah.
The art.
'Cause it'd be
the
great-
art installation.
Yeah, because if we could bring it to live shows, do like a little tour with it. People could get up and take their picture with it.
Bree, can we borrow your
Cobalt blue igneous infection.
Okay, Craig. Craig asked if Kristen had grown taller, and you said yes, she's 5'11".
Okay.
Okay, so she's not. She's not grown any taller. She's been 5'2".
1.5. I think she claims 5'1 3/4" or something, but maybe.
Okay, I think
You
she's
think?
5'2".
I just think she's 1 inch taller than you, right? Or is she 1.5 inches taller? You're 5.
Thank you for acknowledging how tall I
0.05.
actually am.
Yeah.
Maybe she's only 1 inch. Maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, she's between 5, 1.5, and
It's crazy
5'2".
the difference an inch makes, though.
You think she's way taller than
She
me?
seems a few inches taller than you.
Oh, no, I don't like that.
I think it goes the same for me and Jess. We're really only 2 inches apart, which is hard to believe because he's infinitely taller than me. Doesn't he seem like he's 6 inches taller than me?
Are you sure you're only 2?
Well, I'm 6'3" and he's 6'5" or 6'6".
I think he's taller than 6'5".
Okay, well, let's say it's 6'6".
Okay.
Doesn't he seem more than 3 inches taller than me?
But yeah, he seems way tall. But 3 inches is a lot. Like 3 inches is a 5'4" person next to me. That's
tall.
much taller.
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason I said that is because she probably appears taller because that's how she carries herself.
I have a different opinion. So your hair is black. So to me, your height stops where your forehead stops. Her hair is bright blonde. So there's like an extra inch of hair that I'm aware of her being. Your height in my mind stops where your
You don't see my hair?
I do see it, but let me take a picture of you right now, and we'll look at that for
My
10 minutes.
hair is
on the
way
podcast.
taller than Kristen's, I would say.
Great, but it's not. It's invisible.
What?
Your hair is invisible.
Are you telling me my hair is invisible?
I can't believe I'm the first person telling you this. Let's see. Look at me. Yes. So can you understand that, like, where your caramel skin stops is like where you stop?
Okay. No. I see a lot of hair on that head.
You see how your sweater's black and your hair's black? So to me, it's all just sweater, and you are the face.
Okay, we're gonna have to post this picture.
Yeah, we must.
And
Maybe we should post it now and say this
I'm
picture
shocked.
will make sense
This
on
is
Monday.
how you view me with no hair.
No, you
And
clearly
yet I have so much.
You do have so much hair. Does it make any sense to you? Like if someone had bright pink hair, you would be so aware of the top of their being.
I guess
But if they have very dark hair, look, I'm not suggesting anything controversial here, that dark's harder to see than light.
But not on heads, not hair.
Yeah, like black cars people pull out in front of black cars more than they pull out in front of red cars. Oh boy.
No, it's how you carry yourself. I often get the compliment that I don't seem as short as I am when they find out I'm only 5.5 feet.
Right.
And I like that compliment, but then you're giving me the opposite insult.
I like miniatures, so this is all a compliment.
Well,
I wish you were 3'4".
oh my God.
Yeah,
Like,
I would love it if you were that size.
Okay.
I would carry you everywhere I went. You wouldn't even have agency anymore.
yeah, that's
You would just be-
awful. No wonder. Yeah,
You'd
that
sit on
is
my
why
shoulder.
you'd like it.
Yeah.
'Cause you'd have full control.
That's right. You'd sit on my shoulder. I would never put you in my back pocket, though, out of fear of sitting on you and pancaking you.
So, do root canals cause Alzheimer's? Okay.
Well, wait, root canal? No, infections in the gums was.
No, but then it was like, then there was a conversation about do root canals cause problems
Okay.
too?
Okay.
both. And then you said when the infections cause breaks the blood barrier and can affect your brain. So 2 things were happening.
Okay.
Okay, 1, there is no valid scientific evidence linking root canal treated teeth and disease elsewhere in the body. Data showing that 97% of cancer patients had root canal treatment has not been published anywhere. So I think there's like something out
like
there
a
saying
conspiracy theory.
Yes.
Okay.
There is no causality between root canals and cancer. Just because a person has experienced both doesn't mean a cause and effect relationship exists. Claims that root canals are not safe are based on research that's nearly 100 years old and has long been debunked. As recently as 2013, a study published in a Journal of the American Medical Association found that a patient's risk of cancer doesn't change after having a root canal treatment. In fact, patients with multiple endodontic treatments had a 45% reduced risk of cancer.
Okay.
Okay.
So that sounds like they're encouraging people to get root canals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So if you're
are.
on the fence about getting one,
Just go for
pull
it.
the trigger.
Science is documenting an increasing number of dietary, lifestyle, environmental, and systemic causes of memory loss. So this is now moving on to Alzheimer's.
Right.
Both research and individual experience show that natural approaches can be effective in restoring cognition, sometimes completely. Sharp Again Naturally and its medical and dental advisory board have identified 10 factors to date that cause or exacerbate memory loss. So-called silver amalgam fillings contain 50% mercury, and that mercury can create vapor across the blood-brain barrier and destroy neurons even without contact. Safe removal is key, along with minimizing our exposure to large steak fish, polluted air, and vaccines.
Oh, let's remove that part.
Wait, this was a .org.
What the fuck does that mean? I think
it's
Metallica
reputable.
is a .org. Yeah, I don't think org or com makes any difference.
No, it does. It does. It does.
I don't think so.
I think to get a .org, you have to go through a lot more of a process. You can't just like be a .org, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's why you are supposed to be able to trust .org sites much more.
Now .gov, sure.
No,
Government.
that I'm less.
Oh, wow. You're so skeptical.
Skeptical.
Wow.
Anyway, I don't know what to do about this. I can't
You
trust
can't
this.
read that. No.
I can't read it or trust
we cannot
it.
perpetuate in any fashion.
Apparently, anyone can get a .org since 2011.
Really?
Oh, it's
well, that's because
opened up.
I was in school before 2011.
And your knowledge stops there. Yeah, I just know.
Who
I've only
allowed that? What
well,
is silly?
I know the reason I knew it is because I've shopped for domain names post 2011, and all the domain names I wanted I could have if I was willing to do .org, and I didn't want .org. It's just on the options of you type it in to see if it's available and you
This
can buy
is
it.
new. My
since
world
2011.
is blown. My mind is blown. My
Okay.
world is imploding
Oh wow!
because I don't like that. Because now I don't know what's real.
Well, that's welcome to the problem with the internet.
Who allowed this? Like that's crazy.
You're really upset by this.
Well, as a
I've
fact checker, what am I supposed to do?
I know, but I've never had the association with org that you had. So it's hard for
I
me
was
to
in
feel
love with
betrayed.
.org.
You were. You thought you trusted everything you read on .org. We're going to have to go through all the fact checks now. We're going to have to comb through every single one.
Okay, whatever. This next fact I can feel confident about. He said there's new science about statins causing inflammation. And then you said, your doctor said statins reduce inflammation.
Yeah.
So I emailed Dr. Eric Topol.
Ooh, tasty.
Yeah, I did. So I can feel
Your new
confident.
friend?
He is the reallife.org pre-2011. You can trust him.
He's the OG.org.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did he say?
I'll read the whole email.
Yes. Did you love being in correspondence with him?
Yes.
Yeah, you're pretty attracted to him,
I
right?
love
You decided.
him. Hi, Monica. Statins reduce inflammation overall in the body, which is why they are even helpful outside of heart disease cholesterol buildup. Works even with low cholesterol, even possibly in other unrelated conditions like multiple sclerosis. But there is an unusual, curious, still mysterious inflammation that statins induce in muscles and the pancreas, not common. So Dax is right. In parentheses, again, exclamation points.
Oh boy, it sounds like crushes are going around in a circle here.
But there are a couple of exceptions, albeit rare, that are not yet explained. Look forward to our smartphone ultrasound session someday.
Oh.
Smiley face, best Eric.
Oh, God, I love them. Hey, so that makes sense because in a very rare percentage of people, when I got prescribed a statin, they warn you about it. Some people experience muscle pain. Very low percentage. It so happens that my Uncle Randy experienced it.
Oh, really?
Or maybe my dad. Either my dad or... No, I think it was my dad.
Which dad?
My dead dad.
Okay.
Yeah, my biological dead dad. But it gave my dad muscle pain and he got off of it. That makes now sense that pain is coming from inflammation. But again, very small.
Yeah, he said
and
not common.
I think Craig was wrong is my conclusion.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
It's so great when a son can best his father.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
It's Shakespearean.
It's a complicated relationship, fathers and sons.
Always,
Yeah.
even when they're fake.
Yeah. Okay, I tried to look up what was before dry roasted peanuts. Like, what were they before they were dry roasted peanuts? And I think they just weren't roasted.
Wait, what
Or
if they were
dry.
boiled in oil?
I mean, that is something people do, boiled peanuts.
Oh, but that's boiled in water, no?
I just don't.
Boil. Just the word boil has oil in it. So it feels like all boiling should include, well, look, all boiling includes oiling.
No.
Yes.
No.
You can't spell boiling without oiling. You can't spell funeral without fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did.
That's why it's confusing.
Sure.
They should have made the word fry linked to oil and the word boil linked to water. So it should have been like watering
water.
and foiling. That would make way more sense.
Water.
Foiling and watering. Bring about 8 quarts of water to a water and
Oh, okay. Barry Levinson, he comes up in this episode, but I don't know that people know who he is. So I just want to say he's a filmmaker. Diner, The Natural,
Ooh,
Good Morning Vietnam,
oh,
Bugsy, Wag the Dog.
Oh.
He won the Academy Award for Best Director for Rain Man. Yeah.
Oh my
So
God,
he's prolific.
Rain Man.
Yeah.
What a movie.
Okay, did the Bank of Boston collapse? The Bank of Boston Corporation was formed in 1970 as the First National Boston Corporation. A reorganization followed that merged First National Bank of Boston and Old Colony Trust Company into the newly formed Massachusetts Bank, N.A., which then assumed the name First National Bank of Boston. It was renamed the Bank of Boston, N.A., in 1982.
Why are you saying NA?
That's what it's...
Non-alcoholic? Not available? What the fuck does that mean, NA?
I don't know. National something, probably.
Okay.
And in 1982, it became Bank Boston Corporation in 1997. After the company was acquired in 1999 by another leading New England banking firm, Fleet Financial Group, the newly formed company, Fleet Boston Financial, was acquired by Bank of America in 2004.
Wow.
Wowie.
Do you,
What a journey.
such a journey. It was making me think of like when you have to practice taking tests and they make you practice getting rid of extraneous information that's meant to throw you off. Like you said
like
the word.
crossing out.
Yes, like it's not pertinent to the actual. I heard Boston and Massachusetts so many times that I got so confused. I didn't know what you were talking about. And then it just finally ended with Bank of America. And I felt like, oh, we've arrived at the point. But then I was like, what was the point?
Well, it's not.
I mean, I appreciate it,
longer, it's no longer a bank.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anywho. Oh, last thing. So you said addicts sometimes they have an advantage in playing an emotional scene as an actor because they can sort of pull on some recent bad experience.
That morning.
Sure. Which is true, but that's also only one method of acting is to use experience. Like
Sense memory.
yeah, but a lot of acting schools are not fans of that. They try to get you to do other things because you can't always rely on that.
Mm-hmm. And again, Kristen is not an addict, and she can be very emotional at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
But she's also very emotional, period.
Yeah, that's true. I just don't want people to get nervous who are like young actors who aren't addicts. Like, that's not the only way.
Yeah, and
There's
again,
plenty of ways.
I'm not Brad Pitt. Don't get me wrong. there's bigger things to strive to be. But if you're a young actor, in the worst case scenarios, you end up me because you're sober. That's okay. That make any sense?
No, what?
I'm almost 15 years sober.
Yeah.
And my career's plenty good enough. That's my point. Well, like you can do just fine
Not being an
addict.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That was my point too.
Yeah, same point, but not unlike the bank description. Many ways to get there.
Lots of convoluted ways.
Well, look, you're wearing one of our new pieces of merch,
That's right.
which is Miniature Mouse Maximum Facts. And Rob got a cartoon artist to do Miniature Mouse. It's so cute. I can't stand it.
It should be on the site by now.
Oh, it is.
Oh.
Not right this second, but by the time it's coming.
But by Monday?
Oh, okay. So
Should be
these
a
are
tricky.
available.
It will be on the site on Monday.
Okay.
These are available,
Now that I
although
said it.
we don't have this in a sweatshirt. I got the only limited edition sweatshirt.
As I have a brick shit house hoodie.
Yeah,
So bratty.
I know. Exclusive. And
Maybe we
rare.
should sell your shirt for like $11,000, and it'll come with fat troll juice on it. Well, look, I'm saying that our mugs come with DNA.
What do you think is happening?
I don't
with
know.
my
I don't know.
breasts? There's no juice.
It's been a long time since I knew about fat cheese. Okay, I've been out of the game for a long time. I don't
Don't
know.
ever refer to juice when
Fatty
you're referring
juice?
to my fatties.
Well, you could
or
call
any
it
fatties.
Well, but
for that
what
matter.
about the milk produced by fat cheese? If you did, could we call that fatty juice? Like, baby wants more fatty juice. Baby's crying.
I guess.
What would you prefer it was called? Fatty milk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fat natural milk.
Yeah.
We should come out with an actual dairy line called Fat
we'll
Natural
start a
Milk.
milk brand. Yeah.
Oh, guys would be standing in line to get some of that fat natural milk. I love you, Maximum Mouse. Emmy nominated Maximum Mouse. Love you, Wobby Wob, who wrote a check his ass better cash by Monday. And love you, Armchairs.
Bye.